gentlemen, to another episode of Podulution. I am here with the amazing co-host and director of the show, Mr. Benaiah Warr. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Just can't wait to get into what we're going to talk about. I'm blessed.
Me too, actually. Okay, so folks, today's topic is from passion to action, finding your purpose through giving back. All right, now, a lot of folks that I've talked to, Benaiah, I do a lot of workshops with the community where we talk about, helping people find their purpose and helping people find like what it is that makes them tick. How do they develop that seed of passion that's inside of them? And there's a lot of ways that you can go about finding your purpose. Purpose has no age. So some people find it early, some people find it in their 60s, 70s. It doesn't matter when you find it as long as you do.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, one of the things that I would start with is, when I'm chatting with folks and we're talking about this particular topic, sometimes you can do different types of things like maybe volunteer in different types of places, like maybe volunteer at a soup kitchen, volunteer at a senior center, volunteer, with a nonprofit that needs help setting up for an event. Inside of all those things, you're going to come into contact with so many people from so many different walks of life, and in sharing your passions and your purpose, in sharing the things that are exciting to you and the things that you like to do in community, sometimes you stumble upon a conversation where someone awakens something inside of you.
Absolutely.
And you're like, oh my God, wait a minute. I never thought about blah, 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 right? You had said before, Benaiah, in a previous episode that sometimes we speak purpose into other people.
I knew you was going to get that one. I knew you was going to share that one.
Right. And so I think that's a lot of what it is. And I've seen a lot of folks like tap into through various experiences and allowing themselves to kind of like, experience the beauty and the wonder and the cool things about being on earth. I've seen people fall into the thing that they're the most passionate about. And then it has a great impact on everybody who comes in contact with them afterwards. Like, have you ever seen that before?
Listen, I'm a representation of that. I feel like when I come across people who are in these spaces where they work together for, different events or come together for a common purpose, I think of it like this. The purpose becomes linked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I think everybody has a sole purpose to what they're supposed to do on earth. I also believe that a lot of the times there is a common purpose that gathers all of our different purposes together to come to one another to
That's right.
be able to produce something great on earth. And so
Yes.
A testament to that, being around community people, being around people who serve others and do many of the events that's, reaching out to the homeless or reaching out to those who are not given the proper
supports and resources.
Resources. I've been around that, and you meet people who have a heart for community. You meet people who have a heart for people.
Yes.
And so with that, you become linked in with, many different types of personalities and people with influence in different spaces. And then you get perspective and you get more wisdom on how to approach your purpose.
Right.
And how to approach your, vein. And so I believe it's so critical to be connected to people who also have similar passions and who are willing to put those passions into action and willing to use that as a way to find purpose. And so I want to ask you a question. In your life, how have you experienced passion turning into action?
Whoa! Wow! Great question. So I mean, a short example that I can give of that is, the passion that I have to serve the community, and the passion that I watched my parents move with in the community where I come from turned into purpose because I took a leap when I very first came into the nonprofit industry. I took a leap and said, you know, I enjoy serving other people, and I enjoy at the end of the day making sure that our youth have all the resources and opportunities that they deserve so that they can develop into like well-rounded human beings. And so my passion turned into a position where I was able to create programming that we used within the Department of Education to allow both students and their parents to explore new avenues and do things that maybe they hadn't been exposed to before. And, you know, that passion of wanting to serve, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, like which exact thing I wanted to do with that. But in being involved with the process and understanding people and listening to what people say that they need, but then also doing something that my mom always talks about, which is listening to the heart of a person, really listening to folks need but don't know maybe how to verbalize. I was able to start creating programming that affected more people. And I think, you know, that's just like one quick example of how I've seen that in action.
Listen, you got me buttering up inside because, I feel like we're going to dive even deeper into that. We're going to talk a little bit more about how your burden can be somebody else's solution. And
Mm.
so we'll be right back after these messages. We have more mentors, leaders, and heroes coming up after this. Welcome to Podulution, a show that celebrates mentors, leaders, and heroes.
Welcome back, everybody, to Podulution, where our goal is to celebrate leaders, mentors, and heroes. So today, Benaiah and I are speaking about from passion to action, finding your purpose through giving back. So, Benaiah, I would love to toss to you. Talk to me about a time when your burden can become someone else's passion. How can my burden be someone else's passion? Like how does that work?
And that is really good that you mentioned that, Tim, because I do believe that we all have that inner wanting to be better, right? In us, all of us have passions, and all of us have something in us that doesn't want us to just settle for less or settle for anything that is not going to propel us to
Yes.
an area where we can be effective. And so for me, I know that there's moments in my life where, whether it's trying to be more creative, whether it's trying to be a voice for people who battle and struggle with their self-image, or
Mm.
people who battle with mental health, right?
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's just people's approach to how they see life, I think that has always been something since I was a young child who
Hmm.
I always wanted to make people's day better. And that's always been something in me. And I know I can have my own internal battles and struggles as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and I have my moments where, there is times where I can, get into a phase where I'm overthinking or overanalyzing life and how things and situations going to be. Um, but I think there's this burden in me that doesn't want to settle for less. Like life can
Hmm.
be better. It can be joyous and it can be fruitful. And
Yes.
I think the burdens that I have about that makes me want to invest in people, and it makes me want to invest in the great that's already in them.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but I think God gives me a lot of visions, and I think I can see how people can be more effective where they are. And so I noticed that I'm a people person. You're a people person. It's part of who we are. It's part of when you're trying to do things for community, when you're trying to do things to get a vision across, you got to be able to maneuver around people. And some
Yes.
people are gifted in those areas. And so I believe for myself, being gifted with the ability to help uh, uh, propel, encourage, and inspire people is what God has given me. And so, by inspiring and leading myself, I in turn help to lead other people,
Yeah.
and it becomes a solution to them because they didn't know that they needed something that can be triggered or nurtured to help them see life from a different lens, right? All it takes
Yes.
is a
Yes.
little
Yes. Yes.
flip a switch, and that changes everything. And so that's been something that kind of uh, has always been in my heart. Like I don't want to see people, be less than who they're meant to be, and that makes me,
That's powerful. I mean, that's powerful, and I mean, it really also speaks to your upbringing
mm,
and the work that I believe your parents did, not only raising you but praying for you and
yeah,
planting those good seeds within you. I think it's a phenomenal expression of love to want to do right by other people and to be genuine and not have like hidden ill intention behind the work that you do for other people. And I see how the other coworkers here. I see how some of your other friends outside of here, I see how people are drawn to you because of your good nature, because they know you have their best interest at heart. But I think what's also powerful is that in the work I watch you do with the interns here at BronxNet, a lot of you work so well as as a leadership example, right? Sometimes the work that you're doing isn't so explicit in teaching them how to be leaders. Sometimes they're just watching you and they're soaking in how you respond to each of them, how you respond to me, how you respond to the other coworkers. And you are setting such a great example for them to follow throughout their life. But I think
wow,
where it's also like another layer, another touch point of greatness is in how you are patient enough to listen to them for wherever it is and you meet them where they are. And so the passion exchange that you guys have is really awesome to watch because they've got somebody that they feel is listening to them
mm,
but who is still maintaining a position of mentorship with them. And
wow,
so we need more of that in the BIPOC community, Black and Brown, Indigenous people of color. You know, we need more of that, those types of examples where people are out for the right intentions because together we are stronger, but we
hmm,
have to learn, we have to unlearn
yeah,
what we were taught in the BIPOC community of how to distrust one another. We have
right,
to unlearn that because that was taught to us.
yeah.
All right. And so I think, the more people give, the more you are going to bless others and the more you will eventually receive.
Woo! Wow, wow. That is first off, thank you for that. And those are some great nuggets that I think people really need to hear. I think people need to hear that they are loved, that they
Yes.
are chosen, they're welcomed, and that there are examples out here. And putting your passion into action is not just uh doing something to be seen by people.
That's right.
What people don't really understand is that it's actually behind the scenes where it takes place,
That's
and
right.
what people do see is just a translation of things that you were already convicted by,
Yeah.
things that you've already been walking in, and it comes off so genuine because it's something that you live. And so when we come back from break, I want us to talk a little bit more about practical steps and
Mm.
ways in which we can put that passion. Like, how do you feel something and get that like excitement about something and just burden? But how do you like like what's the steps? What does that look like to practically walk it out and put it into action? We'll be right back after this. We have more mentors, leaders, and heroes coming up after this. Welcome to Podulution, a show that celebrates mentors, leaders, and heroes. Welcome back to Podulution, everybody, a show that highlights mentors, leaders, and heroes. And I'm here with my brother, my partner in crime, Timothy Coleman, and we've just been chatting and having a good conversation about passion into action and finding your purpose. And so, with that being said, we're at the mark where we're gonna share some principles and guidelines, things that you can put in place in your life, where that passion that you feel, that like that indignant feeling of I have a vision, I have a purpose, and I'm not I'm not gonna stop until I see it fulfilled in
Yes.
the earth. And so, I want you to just share with some people, in your experience, some principles and ways, and practical ways people can translate that passion to action.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is critical moment in what we're talking about, because the first thing that comes to mind is, what are your core values? What are the values that you live and you use to guide your life with?
Mm.
And so we don't have enough conversation happening in mass media about core values and your principles, your etiquette, the way that you behave with people and the way that you behave with yourself when no one else is around. So a core value is something that you believe very strongly in, and they are developed into your way of being. So an example of a core value is honesty, being honest with people at any point in time, no matter who it is and no matter what the conversation is. And we know all the time, look, a lot of people don't like you to be honest. They just want to hear what they trigger you in a certain way so that you can say a certain thing to them so
Right.
that they can feel good and then go on about their business. But if you're really honest with people, and I mean it with love, right? If you survive in a space where you can be honest with yourself, then there's nothing that somebody else is going to say to you that's ever going to be a surprise,
Wow.
because you will have already recognized it, whether you've been made a step or whether you know what the next step is to take to deal with whatever it is that you're realizing as truth. You already know it as truth. Another core value might be integrity, making sure that you always move with a sense of fairness, forgiveness, and mercy, right? Like, I think those are the qualities that kind of go into that. So when you see a person that, so let me say it like this. In one conversation, I would say you got to have boundaries, right? In this conversation, I'm going to say you got to have core values, because then no matter what it is that you do, no matter what industry you're a part of, no matter how many people you ever talk to in your lifetime, no matter how many different jobs you have, they're going to know you as the same person. We all grow. That's not what I mean. You're not stagnant, but I'm going to say I love the color blue in this conversation, but then in 3 weeks, if you're sitting behind me at a restaurant and I don't know it, I'm still going to love the color blue. I'm
Right.
gonna say I stand for fair education for children, no matter what color they are and where they come from. I'm not you know I'm not gonna say that here today and then not say that later on down the line, because that would be fake, right? So living with integrity, living with purpose, living with honesty, whatever your particular core values are, that's where you start. And just jot these ideas down. The second thing I would say is I don't know why more people don't keep a journal. It can be in your phone, in your notes section of your phone, underneath a password where nobody else even knows what you're typing or what you're doing.
Hmm.
But you gotta keep track because
Come
it's
on, Tim.
really good to be able to look back a year from now and see where you were, what you were thinking, what were you ideating on, what was the vision that was being given to you about something for you to do in your life, and did you accomplish that vision? It also, in keeping a journal, it also helps you track your small successes. We get so caught up in the final goal and the end of the road kind of theme that we don't celebrate the small successes, which means we only recognize and are traumatized by our failures. There has to be a
Wow.
balance. Everything in
Wow.
life is not a failure. Everything in life is also not a celebration. There has to be balance, and both things can teach you an equal amount of lessons. So that's where I would start. Develop what your core values are, and then take notes on your journey. That's where I would go with that.
You always tell me that too. You always say, document it, bro. Document
Yes,
it. You know, you have to, and whatever that document looks like for you, right? If it's writing it in your journal, if it's recording, if it's taking a picture,
that's
you
so
have
good to say.
you have to have something that shows the process and not be too down on yourself, right? And you just brought, I think you brought a lot of clarity to people. I think this is something that people need to know. It's practical, it's simple, but yet it can be forgotten. It's a lost art. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I think for our generation, what we're missing, we need simplicity. We're missing simplicity. I think simplicity is what brings clarity. Simplicity is what brings longevity. It brings consistency, right? You know, I think it's important for us to understand that these are ways in which we can start to become better in our lives. It's like anything. And I want people to know that too as well. Like you can put these things into the action by simply being disciplined in the
Yes.
mundane things, in the simple things, stewarding the small things. What job do you have right now? Are you are you fulfilling it to the best of your abilities? Are you doing it up unto excellence? Are you doing it with the right attitude? Those
Yes.
things are looked at. Don't look down on your life. Don't look at it as a way of I'm never going to be this, I'm never going to be that, or I'm not in this place. Don't compare yourself, right? You have, because what that does, that stifles you, that stops you from moving forward. For us, we have to understand that we're in the position that we're put in for a reason, and you have to serve the purpose and the value of that purpose that you're in right now in this season. And so you might be doing something as small as sweeping the floor, but you don't know every day you sweep in that floor is another day that you're getting better at what you do. You're getting better at the environment. You're understanding how to do things more efficiently. You're learning organizational skills.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
there are skills that you're possessing and you don't know that that's leading to a greater cause that's in your future. I have this man who used to work at my in my building, and he used to, you know, do the take out the garbage, everything, but his energy was so good. He always would stop to have a conversation with people, always would talk to people, always would just be so nice and show them, and that gets noticed. My
That's right.
father was a school safety officer and always will show so much love, always will be so ingratiating towards the community. And a lot of people remembered him. A lot of people knew him. He wasn't just a school safety officer, that was his disguise. And so a lot of times we're in positions that disguise us, and it's actually there to be a conduit for change. And
I
we have to
love
use
it.
it and we have to value it.
Disguises, okay, like, so that means everybody has an opportunity to be a
Yes.
superhero,
Woo.
right? Because these superheroes always put on these disguises for their day-to-day life before
Yep.
they go out and do something phenomenal and
Yep.
fantastic on behalf of somebody else. That's the same opportunity that we have every day. I used to be great friends in high school with the custodial staff of the high school
Yep.
because they were the ones that heard everything. They were the ones that watched everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones that were in the room listening while meetings were taking place, but
Mm-hmm.
they were able to kind of shield their own energy. You didn't even notice that they were
Yep.
in the room.
Yep.
Like, those are the folks that you have to watch out for because they're the keepers of the real
Yep.
information,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And they know who the real players are and what's going on. So never look down on somebody because of the type of job that they have. I remember watching a TV episode where there was a gentleman who worked for Department of, I think it's what's he was a trash man, right? Like he
Maintenance or
maintenance. He was like a
yeah.
maintenance person, right? And so he was collecting garbage. But meanwhile, this guy in his family, they had won the lotto, and this guy's a millionaire. But because he wanted to help keep his city clean, this was the job he had, and nobody knew who they were talking to. Or every time they saw him or walked away from him or ignored him when he was saying hello and greeting them. But the minute they found out how much money he had, now all of a sudden they want to treat him differently. Integrity will cause you to treat everybody with fairness and with love, no matter who they are or who you think they are. And
Wow.
so I receive what you just said because we are birthing purpose in other people. And, I want to say something also to the people who have found their purpose. You can allow your life to become stagnant because you feel like you've tuned into the thing that you're supposed to do, but because you're guarding it so with a tight fist, it's not growing.
Yeah.
And therefore, you are not honoring your purpose and then inspiring as many other people as you could potentially be inspiring by living that passion. So I want to say to those who already feel like they found what the thing is that they're doing, don't be afraid to level up.
Woo. Mm. These words are rich, and I know it's received. And so, with that being said, we thank y'all for joining us on another episode of Podulution.